Good afternoon, evening, everybody. Welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. And today we're doing a little bit of an earlier show today, previewing the game between South Africa and Afghanistan. It is the final game of the group stages for the Proteas, and I think that we have to go into this to try and get an understanding of what we're going to be facing in this match, how South Africa should be approaching it. All of those things is going to be done on the show today. We will react to the likes of David Miller. We'll see if there's still time to also react to Eric Simons' press conference to get some insight into the bowling side of things. And we're going to discuss the pitch conditions, etc., and how we think South Africa should approach this particular game. But before we get going, before we get started, there's a couple of things I'd like you guys to please do. First and foremost, subscribe to the channel, click that notification bell for all future videos, please. If you haven't yet, then please subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every single month. It's the perfect edition about BMT as South Africa head towards the knockout stages of the World Cup. So please go ahead and download your latest issue, and all issues are 100% free. And if you want to support us, what we're doing here at Cricket Fanatics, then please get involved with the Patreon account. The link is on the screen as well as in the description. We rely on your patronage to be able to pull us through and to keep us going. So please get involved with the Patreon account. Smash the like button, comment, and share, and go to cricketfanaticsmag.com for all your regular updates, please. So, without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. I'm looking forward to discussing everything that has to do with this particular game, the final game of the group stages of this World Cup. A very good afternoon, evening, and welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your preview show. I'm your host, Khalid Mohideen, and this is the show where we talk about everything that has to do with South Africa versus Afghanistan. It's going to be an interesting clash, a tough clash for the Proteas. It's not going to be a walkover. Afghanistan is looking to still mathematically qualify, try and do their best to try and do so. I mean, obviously, with New Zealand winning today, it seems like they're going to qualify ultimately. But mathematically, it's still possible for Afghanistan with the net run rate, but they have to smash the Proteas completely if they are looking to do so, because it's going to be not that easy for them to do, to come in and cause an upset of that magnitude. But it's possible. Anything is possible with the Proteas. We know that's going to be true. So for me personally, Ahmadabad is somewhere that we don't really know too much about, other than from the other games that have been playing there. But with regards to the pitch report at the Modi Stadium, so that normally offers batters as well as something in it for the bowlers as well. So it's something that we need to make sure that we look out for, because it's not going to be the easiest of pitches for South Africa with Afghanistan's a million spinners that they have. Um, Ultimately, if you score above 300, you should be able to cross over the line. But not many sides have crossed the 300 run mark on this particular ground. So that just shows what type of surface we're dealing with. You get red soil and you get black soil. There's sometimes a mix. So the red soil obviously means bounce and spin, while the black soil kind of means a little bit that the ball will stay a bit low. It's a low and slower pitch. And then spinners will obviously come into the account on the slower wickets as well. When it comes to the average first inning scores on this ground, it's about 240, and the average second inning scores are about 207. So there has been, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think there's been 4 matches on this ground. So it is something we need to make sure that we look out for, because the pitches have played a massive part in this World Cup so far. We know that for sure, and we know South Africa's bad record when it comes to chasing. It hasn't necessarily been the best. And the question is going to be, should we test ourselves? Should we test ourselves on this particular wicket to chase heading into the semifinals with um, with the possibility of us losing a toss and then chasing? Now, in this particular World Cup so far, nobody has passed the 300 run mark. Australia scored the highest total on the ground with 286 against England. Then um, New Zealand scored 283 for one against England. And England scored 282 for nine against New Zealand, batting first, of course. Then, when you go a little further down, England versus Australia, England scored 253 on this ground in this World Cup so far. And then you can go a little bit further down to see that the India versus Pakistan game was a low scoring ground where India really had an amazing time bowling first, knocking over Pakistan for 191 and then chasing it down 192 for three. So as you can see, not a very high scoring ground necessarily, like Mumbai was for South Africa, for example. So it is something that we need to look into, that we need to be aware of, especially with the Afghanistan spinners that they have to offer. It does turn. So I think South Africa need to play both Shamsi and Keshav tomorrow. And I also think that we also need to play Gerald Kutsia tomorrow, in my opinion. But whether they choose between Lungi and Gerald is going to be the question. I haven't necessarily got an update from Cricket South Africa directly about Lungi Ngidi. Perhaps they're going to wait and see if he can pass the fitness test ahead of the game. But I think the best that we'll get is probably from David Miller's presser. So let's have a listen together and try and see what David Miller had to say, so that we can get an understanding of what the Proteas are thinking ahead of this particular match. So let's start with that.
Probably a weird sort of game to yeah, okay, let me start again. Sort of a weird sort of game, because there's whatever happens, you already know who you're playing in the semi-final. So what do you guys sort of look to get out of it?
Yeah, I don't think any international game is kind of a weird game. I think for us it's just continuing what we've really done in this World Cup, and just nailing down on areas that we want to improve on from the previous game, and yeah, I think it's a great opportunity to showcase what we can do and get some momentum into that semi.
David, I think people who are not from India will think, it's slow and it turns everywhere you go. And we've seen in this competition that that's really not the case. Mumbai swings like mad. How do you internalize the changing conditions, and what do you expect to get here?
Yeah, I mean, it varies from city to city. So just kind of seeing with preparation before the games, 2 or 3 days out or the day before, we were here last night with some fielding on the outfield, and obviously there's a bit of dew around. There's dew every place, but yeah, I think it's just more, I mean, it's pretty cliche, just sticking to what we know best. I mean, obviously there's conditions that play out accordingly in whatever game you play, but you got to play the ball and adapt as quickly as possible. So yeah, the conditions are always there in every country that you play in. It's just about being better, outskill the opposition on the day. I mean, the ground here is a great ground. Normally a good wicket. There probably will be a bit of spin, knowing Afghanistan with their spinners that they've got. So just kind of being aware of that, and obviously as I mentioned, adapting on the day. to whatever is thrown at us.
Yeah, we obviously going to have to look out for Afghanistan spinners. That's obviously something that we can't ignore. Um, they are the type of team that can turn up on a day and really surprise anybody. It's something that we need to be 100% aware of. It's not something we can take lightly. The the players in that team have shown some excellent fight. They've had some great performances with their batters, and they've also had some great performances with their bowlers. So we know that South Africa is high flying and obviously batting first, but they're coming off a massive defeat, right? And it was a heartbreaking defeat for South Africa, but also a heartbreaking defeat for Afghanistan against Australia when Maxwell just tore them apart. So both teams are coming off, a little bit of you could say a heartbreaking experience, but we need to be aware of their spinners because we know what they can do. But not only that, tight lines need to be bowled from South Africa. We can't give too much away. I'm hoping that we will bowl a lot more tighter, give less away with regards to allowing them to. But we need to learn how to pile the pressure on the team, and not give them too much because particularly putting pressure on their spinners is going to be important with Mohammad Nabi, Rashid Khan, Noor Ahmed. Um, they are going to try their best to try and choke South Africa as much as possible. We need to be able to build momentum into this World Cup semi-final. It's important that we do so.
David, hi. How much flexibility is there between Aidan, Classy, and yourself? And did you speak about that before the tournament? And the New Zealand game, was that a match-up thing too subtle for us to understand, or was it just because you deserved a hit? Or
No, not at all. I think it was more tactical with the left-right. There was a small boundary. So at the time, it was we had done a great. There was great foundation with the guys up front, and that's kind of when we've done well. We've had a great foundation and allowed the three of us to go and play the way that we can. So, yeah, it was more just using that left-right combination towards the back end of the innings, and look, I think Aidan and Klaasen have showed their skill and class. In this tournament and prior to this as well. So I think there always is like being adaptable and flexible with certain things, but at this stage that particular game was left-right.
Dave, as as a number 6, has Glenn Maxwell inspired you to hit a 200 from that position?
Of course, seeing a knock like that was really special. He's a X Factor match winner. It was inspiring to see no foot movement there and still hitting sixes and fours, and from a game where they were dead and buried. So we've seen from our side we've chased games where we kind of out of it as well and done certain things that was particularly special though. But yeah, it was. It's I suppose where the game of cricket is going, you kind of always believe as you go along, you just tick over the balls, get through the overs, and kind of see how it unfolds, and you never know what is possible. So just to keep believing throughout.
Yeah, belief is important. We spoke about belief yesterday. Belief is very important. They need to believe that they can do these type of things. What made Australia, what made Glenn Maxwell do what he did was 100% belief. They were in a terrible position. They were looking on at a defeat, looking down the barrel of defeat, and he saved them. And that's only because he believes he can do anything. He believes he's Superman. So if we need to have that belief in us, and our team players need to keep a positive mentality when we face a situation like Australia did. We need this guy here, David Miller, to start believing in himself that he can win a game single-handedly for South Africa. He's done it in the past, but now he needs to do it. If we get faced with that in the semi, or we get facing that in matches, he needs to put up his hand and be that guy. And he has all the talent and capability to be able to do so.
Yeah, David, just on that, as you say, they were in a pretty out position there, Australia, and then there was this idea of belief. What's your version of why South Africa have chased unsuccessfully twice and then successfully the once at this tournament?
Probably a mixture of a few things. With it doesn't help losing a couple wickets up front and be on the back foot, as well as some really good bowling from the opposition. So yeah, I think we have chased a lot of games in the past, and I don't think it's something that is a huge issue at all. The guys do certainly have the skill and believe that we can chase anything. It's I think it's just comparing to what we have done batting first, which has been exceptional. So we haven't been horrific chasing. It's just been one or two games where we slip, which is part of the game. We have spoken about and dissected in that, and yeah, I mean, it's just about making sure that we've got that platform and giving ourselves the best chance to chase down a total.
Yeah, and that's exactly the approach that I was speaking about. The way you guys approach your batting when you bat first is exactly the same way how they should approach their chase. Because if they set a nice platform, I believe that middle order can chase down anything. And the opposition has found ways to put pressure on us, and we haven't dealt with it well. So that's something that we need to improve.
Hi, Mihir from the Indian Express. What do you make of Afghanistan's run through this World Cup? And from your point of view, what's the good thing? What's anything that you like about them?
Yeah, they've been really, really good to watch. They're a team that's certainly growing in confidence. They've showed that they can compete. This World Cup they've done really, really well, beaten some big teams, and it's something that we very aware of at World Cups, that there's no easy game in the game of cricket. So just to make sure that we're really well prepped, which with whatever game we're playing and team we're playing. So yeah, I mean, it's been good to watch the Afghanistan group going the way that they have, with the spinners that they've got, the batters up front, they've done really well. Their opening stands have been really good, and then contributions throughout the innings from their other batters. So they're a really strong team, and hence they have a chance to make the semi-finals. So it's good to see. I mean, that's the joys of World Cup. You see different teams doing well, people that don't necessarily rate a certain team exceeding in a certain phase of the World Cup. So it's great to see. Good for cricket.
Hi. What do you say about your Ahmedabad wicket and a largest stadium?
The Ahmedabad wicket and
Largest stadium.
the largest stadium. Yeah, it's pretty big. I think it's 120 or 30,000 people. I've played a few games here with Gujarat Titans and had the pleasure of playing in front of a full packed house here. So it's a place that you kind of want to play cricket. It's a great facility, nice wickets, good outfield, and if it's a full packed house tomorrow, I really hope it is. But it's always a good spectacle here at this ground, and really excited for what lies ahead. Potentially being here in the final, it will be a great achievement.
Hi, Dave. I understand that you guys are one game at a time, but the semi-final has been set now against Australia. What's the feeling in the camp and personally about coming up against them, who you faced quite often recently?
Yeah, we have. We played them before the World Cup, so kind of dress rehearsal there, and we've played them quite a bit, in the past. So we know what to expect, and they're always, a competitive team. They've got some incredible players and match winners and stuff amongst their team. So I think from our side, it's just as you mentioned, one game at a time. Tomorrow is really important for us to nail down things that we want to work on, and then come semi-final. Obviously, it doesn't really get better than that. A lot of excitement. And yeah, just a great occasion to be a part of. We missed out in 2019. We made the semi in 2015. So really excited to be back in the semis and have a great opportunity and great shot to make the final.
They've got a very good shot, I think, personally. This is a team we've beaten already in the group stages, a team that we know extremely well, that we can be 100% prepared for. If South Africa has their A game on, their game faces on, they do the right thing, stay switched on, they do everything correctly, then I do strongly believe we can beat Australia again. But we need to make sure that we don't allow the pressure to get to us, and we take it bit by bit, moment by moment, and stay switched on from hour to hour to hour, so that we get the best out of our team and we don't drop the ball, figuratively and literally.
David, I know you're not the right person to ask this, but Andile's been sort of the only player that hasn't had a chance. Has there been any chats, for this first part of the question, in the team that he might get a go tomorrow? And secondly, how has he been around the team with not getting a game? Has he been positive still, or what's he been like?
Yeah, I don't know why you asked me the question then, but no, I honestly don't know. Yeah, I haven't had any conversations with the coach and captain and certain people according to the selection with Andile. But in terms of the team and where we're at, the guys have been phenomenal off the field, really supportive and done their roles and trained really hard. So, I mean, you see Reza Hendricks got a game, came in and did really well. Guys are mentally ready, and if there happens to be a game, I'm 100% sure he'll be firing on all cylinders. So he's certainly given a lot to the team and brought a lot of energy. So it's been great to see, and that's the kind of things that we want from the team, to still pour in and give and not just take. So it's been great.
Yeah, so now we know where the rumor came from, because the question was asked in the presser. David Miller wouldn't really know that answer, but so we don't know whether that's going to happen or not happen. It's going to be completely up to the coach and the captain to decide whether they're going to play Andile or not. It's going to depend also on fitness of certain players, whether certain players need a rest or not. I think if a player needs a rest, give him a rest. Let them be 100% focused on that semi-final. If they feel that they can, it should be the player's decision ultimately as well. They should have a say in it, because only they know their bodies really.
David, not a lot of people back home would have ever been here or known what it's like to call this maybe a second home with your IPL. If you could tell them a bit about this place, not just the stadium, but being in Ahmedabad and that sort of thing, what would you tell them?
It's really hot and dry heat, but a great place. I mean, I haven't really got out to the city to try different restaurants and stuff, but the food is phenomenal at the hotel, and it's always good to come to India. You always get looked after really well. The people are friendly and extremely helpful, so that's always a nice thing coming to India. Along with this ground, I mean, it's, as I mentioned, it doesn't really get better than this with the stadium that we've got. It's a phenomenal stadium. It's got great atmosphere, and just really looking forward to what lies ahead. Potentially having a game here in the final, and I mean, it's good to play cricket here.
Okay, so not too much being said over there by David Miller that we can write home about, or it's basically simple diplomatic presser. I want to go through some of what Eric Simons had to say because I think that we'll get a lot more from him, particularly about our bowlers. So let's just have a look at and listen to what he had to say.
He did sort of say he felt quite anxious and nervous, and he was hoping to kind of channel that energy positively. And I guess maybe it didn't work out like he wanted it to. Just what kinds of things was he going through before, and also what kind of work do you do with like a young guy like him who's allowed to have a bad day, going forward?
We've had morning everybody. First of all, we've actually had a chat this morning. We have group meetings and then one-on-ones just to touch base on different levels. And I think the real sense about him was that he went away from concentrating on himself to concentrating on the opposition a little bit.
I knew it.
Sometimes happens in those pressure moments when you're up against the quality of the batsmen we were playing against, and I think it was a great learning for him. I actually had said to the bowling group, which to their frustration, I think, that I was hoping we'd have some tough situations, and we did. So it was a great learning experience for him as an individual, but for us as a group as well, in a situation like that. But I would probably sum it up as saying that his focus moved a little bit away from the way he'd been bowling to the opposition in the situation. So we'll have to make sure that we get that right. But I mean, it's not that he's capable of bowling what he has done. We obviously have seen it, so it's a case of getting him back there again and making sure that it doesn't happen again and learning from what happened against India.
Yes, and that is something that we all spoke about on the show. And I'm glad that Eric Simons is actually honest about it and told us what a little bit of insight what's going down in the camp and with the players, because Marco Jansen bowls at his best if he just focuses on doing the basics. When he looks for swing and tries to look for movement and all of those type of things, that's when he doesn't hit his mark. So he just needs to go back into his shell and do the basics correctly. With our bowling attack, a lot of them have natural ability to be able to do certain things with the ball. So particularly Marco Jansen, he gets natural swing and he gets natural movement and natural angles and bounce, etc., because of his physical makeup. So the best way to fight nerves is to focus on what you can control and not think about the opposition. That's the best way, and I hope that he's learned from that lesson now and he can focus on himself.
Yeah, and Eric, I don't know if you guys watched Glenn Maxwell yesterday, but it was something I mean, I've never seen anything like that before. And obviously, you play Australia in the semis. I know you've still got a game to go, but when you look at someone like that, like how do you even plan to bowl at a guy who can basically bat on one leg?
I think you've got to use the situation the best you possibly can. I don't think that the tactics that they bowled him were particularly probably suited him, just the way that he was playing. So I think you've got to assess the situation. One of the things you've always got to control about your tactics and the field placings that you use. So I think our field placings and our tactics would have been different, and that's where we'd focus. But obviously you can't take away from an incredible knock, and I think that's one's going to be spoken about for many, many years.
Yeah, the tactics was a bit weird.
Zahir, then Morgan.
How's it, Eric?
How's it?
We've seen KG go fairly well at this World Cup. He's eating his straps again. He's bowling nicely. Is there a conversation about him possibly going back to taking the new ball and just setting the tone up front?
I don't think initially in a match. I think what he's doing for us is particularly important. He's the kind of guy, as you say, the way that he's bowling, he can play two roles. If they do get away from us, put it back the way he did, and if they're under pressure, keep the pressure up. So I think having that experience coming in is in some respects the business part of that power play in many situations is important. I don't think we're going to get carried away with changes due to a frustration of one particular power play. We've been outstanding in the power play, so I think the role he plays is a good one, and one that's settled in quite nicely. We've spoke from the very start of having a bowling unit that understood their roles, and they've settled into those roles. So we don't want to overanalyze one performance which we weren't as happy with as we have been.
Thanks, Zahir. Morgan, then tennis.
Thanks, Lucy. Morning, Eric.
Hi.
I think you largely answered what I wanted to hear with Fidoza's question. But as the bowling coach, what would the message be to tell the guys not to panic in a situation where you get an innings like that of Glenn? I don't think there will be another innings like that for a long time. And then probably reinforces that old adage that catches win matches.
Fact of life, that really is the
Yep.
case. We've actually used the opposition a lot this tournament, just to analyze what they've done and what they haven't done, and just from there worked our plan. So it will be a situation where we'll be able to watch not only his knock, but also the way the Australians bowl to Afghanistan at the end of the innings. You know, what can we learn from it? It's often a very fertile place for us to learn, is watch the opposition, see what they've done well, see what they haven't done well. So I think one of the things that we've been quite good at, well, we have been good at this tournament, is have clarity around tactics. That doesn't always guarantee execution or accuracy of execution, but the clarity of tactics is important. And we're always looking for what are the opposition trying to do, and if you can see a plan, sometimes it's executed, sometimes not. That's one thing. But yeah, the conversation will be rather what would you do in that situation? What would we do differently? From a tactical perspective, making sound tactical decisions is 100% in your control, and that would certainly where we'd focus.
Okay, well done, Eric. That was a good answer.
Thanks, Morgan. Tuna Sen Telford.
Hi, Eric. Just want to know as well on Shamli's bowling against India. It seemed like he did well. The majority of his bowls went down the leg. Have you guys been able to sort of pinpoint technically what went wrong there?
One of the things I do a lot with the bowlers is angle of approach to the wicket. So I believe very strongly in not changing your attack to change your line. So let me use a seamer as example. If you're going to bowl a wide Yorker from straight next to the stumps, you have to change your action. The best thing to do is then to run down the wide line on the bowler side and bowl to the wide line on the batsman side, which makes it the two wide lines become like your off stump, if you like. But what that allows is your action doesn't change. When you start to change your action to change your angle, you have a problem. So we've worked quite a lot on angles from his perspective as well. So if he's finding his bowling a little bit too straight and he wants to go wider, to change the angles of approach. And from video footage, we'll study that as much as we can to see if we can correct it rather there than anywhere else. But we wanted to go straight to a degree, but obviously the ball was turning a little bit much, and it probably went down leg too many times for our liking, and probably could have been a little more attacking if we'd been hitting off stump a little bit more. But the simple answer is looking at the angle of approach, so that the action doesn't change, the trajectory and line of the ball of the attack changes. I hope that makes sense.
Eric.
It doesn't.
No, it does. Thanks, Dennis. Telford, then Hines.
Thanks, Lucy. Thanks, Eric.
Hi.
Hi. You mentioned a while ago that you guys studied your opponents, and I'm sure your remaining opponents, especially Afghanistan and Australia, those are the ones you know of now, have studied the way India came at South Africa, particularly in the power play. What do you do about that if it happens again?
Yeah, Telford, again, I don't want to give away our sort of thinking at this stage, but we learned an enormous amount about ourselves and obviously Australia, but particularly about ourselves in the series in South Africa when they came as hard as they did at us in that series and what to do. So we do have very specific tactics around what we would do in situations, who we want to bowl to and who we don't want to bowl to, and how we manage that. So we do have a strategy, but I think to obviously talk about it in this situation wouldn't help that much. But we really need to analyze who's coming at us, who's not, what their strike rates are, and how you manage how many balls you bowl at which batsman, and that's really the way we go about it. Field placing, we try and use field placing as much as we possibly can to create pressure as well. Again, we want bowlers to bowl the same balls that we plan to, and then use field placing to create pressure, and certainly those are two very clear focuses for us.
Sorry, guys, I've been quiet for a while. I'm always captivated when this guy talks. Like the attention to detail and the attention to, mainly the attention to detail when it comes to his tactics and analyzing things is brilliant. I mean, he said a lot without saying too much either. Like he didn't give away too much of the plan, but he could explain the thinking processes, which I think is brilliant. Macmillan says from that response, I feel KG won't be used as an open for with Marco if Lungi's out. No matter what the result, says Sepo, I must say I enjoying the how the atmosphere that the staff has created. The tension to the process that Eric and JP have been talking about this campaign is encouraging. Justin says, why not rest the cock and give Riza a game? Let Pavuma and Riza open. Whoever comes on top must open with the cock in the semis. That's a good idea and plan. I was actually going to suggest that or later on the show what you guys think of maybe that idea um, of maybe doing that, giving Quinny a little bit of a rest. He's in such amazing form at the moment and his mind is so much switched on. I don't think a rest is going to kill his form.
Thanks, Telford. Heinz Spiros seems to.
Eric, a guy like KG actually mentioned that they're not tapping just into your bowling knowledge, but also your overall experience. You know, as a guy who's been to World Cups as well and stuff. Just from your perspective, having been involved in showpiece campaigns, do you believe actually the fact that you guys have qualified early for a semi-final is a help or a hindrance in terms of mindset overall?
Yeah, I do think the game against India was always going to be a big match, regardless of whether we qualified or not. Obviously, there'd been a lot more at stake if we hadn't. So I think we were able to get quite a lot out of it, and I think that certainly has been our attitude towards it. The fact the result went the way it didn't was disappointing, but we've learned a lot of lessons about the conditions. So we're very fortunate. You know, we played that match at the semi-final venue, as it certainly looks like it's going to be. And then playing against Afghanistan at what's going to be the venue for the final. So we'll try and gather as much information as we possibly can. But certainly from our side, it's very much a positive, just in terms of what it says about the way we've played, but also the way that we can gather information and then plan for the matches going forward, being Australia and then hopefully the final.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Heinz. Spiros.
Eric, you mentioned looking at the way that Australia bowled against Afghanistan in the lower order. I think they conceded 64 runs in the last 5, and they themselves said they felt like they really lost it. But if you look at Afghanistan's template, it seems like them and the Dutch, you know, they have to bat first and then sort of go quite slowly and kind of like see what happens. So do you sense that's an opportunity to exploit that kind of weaker middle order, if I can put it that way? Or how do you approach a batting lineup like theirs that isn't very explosive in the beginning?
I think, you know, sensing the tempo of a game and when it changes and identifying that moment. So if you can build pressure through the way that they do bat, if they bat slowly and then want to accelerate the back end. But if you can sense that moment, you know, you often get the situation where if they lose a wicket at this point, then you're really in the pound seats. And sensing that moment and when the tempo is going to change and staying one step ahead with your tactics is important in the game senses. The important thing for us is that we do not allow the batsman to dictate our tactics.
Yes, of course.
We talk about someone like Rashid Khan is what I call a disruptor. The way that he bats is very disrupting, hits the ball in strange areas, and before you know it, you've bowled balls at him. And with respect, so did what's the left spinner's name? From the Dutch, Van der Merwe. He's also disrupt the way that he comes to the wicket and the way that he bats. They disrupt you and they take you off your or they can take you off your game plan. It's important that you don't allow that to. So we saw a situation where the Afghanistan batsmen were dictating the Australians' plans, and as experienced as Cummins and Stark and Hazelwood are, they seem to almost get in their heads and control the way the game and the tempo of the game is played. And I think that's something that's very important for a bowling lineup to not allow the batsmen to do, and particularly when you know that you're going into the game and these guys are disruptors in the way that they play. So it's an important aspect of us staying true to our tactics and what I call the red mist. When the red mist starts creeping in, people identify it. Conversations that have taken place off the field take place on the field, and that calm heads and calm decisions are made in those moments.
Thanks for those. We're going to go Stu, then Zahir.
Thank you, Lucy. Hi, Eric.
Hi, Stu.
Just on you know, looking at the opposition, India have been tremendous with the ball. Those seamers have been tremendous with the ball throughout this tournament. What can you guys take away from what they're doing that you might want to apply for South Africa in the next couple of games?
Good question.
The consistency of accuracy. I think we've been really good in the power play as well. I think where they've probably been a little better is that
Brilliant answer. Consistency of accuracy. You see, this guy he's brilliant. That's exactly what we've been saying on the show as well. It's the accuracy and the consistency. We need to make sure that we stick to what we do well and consistently approach that and consistently apply that. That's where we've been lacking, is that consistency. And sometimes I feel that we get thrown off by the opposition and what they're doing, where we just need to focus on what we're doing, and making sure that we hit the right lines and lengths, and focus on the tactics that we have, and that we have thought about, and also sniffing the danger, like Eric Simon said. You need to sniff the danger and understand that when that you don't have to completely stick to the tactics 100%. If the opposition have worked it out or worked you out, then you can switch tactics. So obviously, I'm sure that Eric Simons has spoken to them about different types of scenarios and how to adapt.
is the consistency of the accuracy. I think that's been a hallmark of the way that they've bowled, to build pressure and then take wickets. Taking wickets to that phase is important. We've still taken more wickets, but I think their consistency has been really, really good. I still like to see that attack under pressure in the middle overs when they haven't taken wickets, and certainly I think that's a gap that could occur. They haven't been tested at all. I still think that we've come away from the game against India with questions to be answered, discussions to be had, and you might find they've gone away with very few. They probably haven't really questioned the way that they've gone about the game and what they've done and what they haven't done. So that might be a chance for us to be one step ahead of them. But just to answer your question directly, the consistency and the accuracy has been outstanding. Their technical ability, as you can see, the way they get the seams in positions, the way they can move the ball in both directions. We've seen more and more our guys doing it. I think our seams have got better and better during the course of this tournament. We've been able to move the ball in both directions. When you do that, when you do what Marco Jansen has, for example, done, what Lungi's done, it means that batsmen are asking themselves questions about your attack all the time. So you're always got 2 or 3 or 4 balls that batsmen will look at a little longer because they're unsure which way the ball's going to go and what's going to happen. Now, India's got a bowling attack that's all of them are doing it. So that does put you under pressure. But consistency of the accuracy has been something to really has really stood out.
Brilliant
We're
answer.
going to take the last couple of questions as we look to wrap up this media opportunity. So we're going to go Zahir, Hines, and then wrap with Telford.
Eric, just back to that very first question. When you spoke to Marco, has this last couple of days been about just putting a shoulder around him and arm around his shoulder at least and saying, okay, it's going to be all right? Or is it more, let's look at it from a technical point of view where you actually went wrong and this is how we're going to go?
Well, the first thing is I can't put it all around his shoulder because it's too high. I can't reach, which makes it incredibly difficult. But certainly it's not a technical conversation. I always say there's performance and then there's potential and there's performance. And he's bowled at a certain level, and then you see performance that's a little bit off. And then we talk about, I call it noise in the system. What is the noise between what you perform and the way you have been able to perform, and what have we identified for those? So we've got 4 points that have come out of our conversation that we will focus on to make sure that if he gets under pressure again, that we address those things. Those 4, call them noise in the system. None of them are technical. There's not a technical issue to worry about. I don't think so either. It's got to do with being under pressure in those moments and how we deal with it. So that's what we've spoken about. What noise in the system has created the gap between what he actually bowled and what we know he can bowl. So I suppose in a sense there is support, but I think that's one of the hallmarks of this whole campaign has been the honest conversations around situations we find ourselves in, but none of them have been technical.
So I like that. That's a reassuring for us that our bowling coach can identify that they don't start trying to change technical things because they misassess the situation. So it's good that we know that he's noticed that it's Marco's is struggling with a handling pressure situation, allowing noise to get in his head, etc., and take him off his game rather than a technical thing. So I hope that they're working on that. And like you said, they are. So I'm assuming that they would.
Thanks, Zahir. Heinz has since put his hand down, So we will look to wrap with Telford.
Mark, you were famously unflappable as a player. You always looked in control and calm and whatnot. I'm not sure if that was an illusion, but I wonder, do you have some understanding as a player rather than a coach for what happened to Marco, on Sunday? He just seemed to lose all the discipline that he had. Do you get that as a cricketer?
His answer to the question made complete sense. When you start getting out of your bubble and start worrying about what's on the other side of the pitch rather than what you're doing on your side, that can create it, and the noise of the place like that does add to the occasion. We mustn't forget he's a young cricketer, he's new at the game, and these moments will happen. But he's pretty calm about it, and these things do happen. So it's important that you learn from it as best you possibly can, and I do think we have and we will. So it does happen. You have those moments where, as I call it, red mist can slip in, and when you look back on it, you realize that you weren't calm, you weren't in the moment, you weren't what all those beautiful comments were. But the conversations have been very good and very positive, and I think, as I said, we've got four real points of focus for us to work on, not only building up towards it, but in that situation again in the future.
I'm happy with those answers. Brilliant. I think we're going to be prepared. Let me read some of your questions. Seppo says he likes resting Quinton de Kock. Macmillan says Quinton is going to rest after the World Cup. Justin says Rabada should also rest. We don't want our bowling to get injured in a game that means nothing. Is Nokia still unfit? Yes, he is. Just Nokia nowhere near replacing Lungi. Also, he isn't match fit to come in now at this business end of the tourney. Is Lazard back? I haven't heard. He should be back. Looks like semi-final will be as follows, says Ruben. Looks like so SA versus Australia, yes. Eden Gardens, yes. India versus New Zealand at Wankhede, unless Pakistan trash England badly to overtake New Zealand on net run rate. Yeah, which is yeah. But the same top six tomorrow. We failed miserably against India. So important that as a batting unit, they get their confidence back up ahead of the semi-final. Another reason I think they would want to bat first, says Lawrence. Should give our players little. So I can't focus. Yeah, as it looks like they lose a cop or lose their head and concentration quickly. This hiding against India came at the right time. The chances of Pakistan qualifying is almost zero, so something like they will have to beat England by some 330 runs or chase any total in like 7-8 overs, unrealistic expectations, I'd say. Eric Simons, I would not want to debate with. Bro answers every question eloquently, 100%. Ruban says, Lawrence, let's hope the final will be between the two best teams in the World Cup, India versus South Africa, and let's hope SA will be able to beat Australia as they did in the group stages. Aditya says, if Temba don't perform tomorrow, just drop him. You need to be strict enough. Otherwise, last year World Cup scenes will be repeated. Macmillan says, bet Simon's wife doesn't question him ever. She's... No. Not throwing any shade towards Otis Gibson, Boucher, or Rob, but I don't think any of them can ever speak like Eric. He speaks like a coach. Wild knowledge. It's brilliant. I've always enjoyed interviewing him. How do you think Okata Pitch will play with SA versus Australia in the semi-final? The same like it did against India. So I think we need to pick two spinners in that match as well, both Shamsi and Keshaf. I think Australia do have a little bit of a weakness against spin if we hit our lines correctly and put them under pressure. But guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please subscribe to the channel, click that notification bell for all future videos, please. It's very important that you all do so. We're on the road to 5,000 subscribers, so please help us get there very, very quickly. I hope you guys can also download and subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every month. Link is on the screen as well as in the description. Also, support us by becoming a patron today. Your patronage is very important to keep us going here at Cricket Fanatics Mag. Smash the like button, comment, and share, and go to cricketfanaticsmag.com for all the regular updates. I've been your host, Khalid Moedin. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Good luck to the Proteas tomorrow. Let's hope that we can get a nice momentum boulder into the semi-finals. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Peace out.